Welcome to Unlocking Your Truth, another podcast by Dr. Leslie Phillips.
We have a fabulous show in store for you. And as you know, Unlocking Your Truth is an exploration of the intuitive and the mystical and the metaphysical and the spiritual. And it's a talk show. And so every week we have a different topic that we bring to you. And this week is no exception. We have a fabulous topic to talk to you about. And of course, you can always write to us as well at info@drlesliephillips.com. And you can send in your questions, and you can also ask us to cover a topic of interest to you. You can even ask us to interview people if you want. Every once in a while we have someone on to interview, and we'd be happy to bring people of interest onto the show. So, just drop us a line. So, tonight's show, I have a kind of an interesting topic. I read an article that came out in the Huffington Post today, and that inspired me for what we're going to talk about this evening. And I'll just do a little bit of a preamble about it. So there is a, what should we call it? A spiritual belief. It's my belief, actually, as well, that you create your own reality. And everything in your life is a symbol. Everything in your life, everything that appears in your life is teaching you something, is helping you to expand your consciousness. And so, in a way, life is a bit like a dream. So, if you've ever read anything about dream analysis, the whole way that they do it is that everything in the dream is a symbol that relates in some way to the psyche of the individual having the dream. And so in interpreting somebody's dream, we ask, what does this person mean for you? What does this object mean for you? And so on and so forth, so that you can start to paint a picture of what the psychological meaning, the deeper psychological meaning of the dream was, as opposed to the events that happen on the surface. So you can apply that principle to your life, and you can apply that principle to mass events that you see playing out in the theatre of your life. And so...
I'm sorry. I must have had a dream that we were going to do the show on ego this week. Was that a dream?
No, it kind of, that's where it's going to lead.
Okay.
For sure. Ego. Yeah. So this article in the Huffington Post, the title of it was Donald Trump, Your Spiritual Teacher in Disguise. And
good disguise.
And that's what most people would say, isn't it? Good disguise. But I read the article in the Huffington Post, and I also saw online on YouTube Abraham Hicks. And if listeners, if you don't know who Abraham Hicks is, it's a being called Abraham channeled by a lady called Esther Hicks, and there's lots and lots of YouTube videos. And the main teaching is the law of attraction. Anyway, they had a recent event where, I think it was obviously after the election, where everyone was going nuts about what had happened. And this channeled being, Abraham, had something to say on the matter as well. And so I'm going to present those two perspectives, the one from the Huffington Post and the other one, and we can have a learning and have a chat. So feel free to call us about it as well. So let's start with the Huffington Post article. And so the lady who wrote it, who's called Patricia Pierce, is comparing it to a dream and saying, well, it's a bit more like a nightmare than a dream, actually. But let's analyze it as though it was a nightmare. And she's saying, you know, I bet you feel like you're in the... She's talking to Americans mainly, of course. I bet you feel like you're in the middle of a nightmare. And so whether you're experiencing it as a frightening curse or a great blessing depends on whether you're willing to listen to and own the information it brings. And so on center stage of the nightmare stands the character Donald Trump, who you can see as an arch nemesis or a supreme spiritual teacher. And she says, my guess is you don't need any help seeing him as a nemesis, so she focuses on how could he be a teacher? How could he be symbolizing something we need to learn? And so what she says is, Donald Trump has made an appearance in your dream to show you in blatant terms what the ego looks like. And her concept of the ego is that it is a part of your mind that inverts reality. And the ego is, she just says, it's just an idea that you believe in. It's a lens through which you choose to observe yourself and the world. And she says it inverts reality because it upholds illusions while denying all that is true. So she says the ego believes in separateness and denies oneness. It believes in fear and denies love. It believes in death and denies permanence of life. It believes in hierarchy and denies the truth of reciprocity. And she says, thanks to Donald Trump, you are able to witness the ego in a caricatured, exaggerated form. You are able to see how the ego seeks attention, how it perceives itself to be greater than everyone else, and how greatness for the ego rests on wealth, fame, influence, and the ability to dominate others. And by depicting the ego in such an unbridled fashion, Donald Trump is giving you the tools you need to detect the same ego tendencies within yourself, even though they might be present in subtler forms. But he doesn't stop there. Your spiritual teacher is also helping you see where the ego eventually leads. Animosity, division, blame, projection, violence, disregard for others. He's presenting you with a rare opportunity to decide for yourself whether you really want to elect the ego to sit in your own personal Oval Office. And I'll pause there for a moment. And so that's a way of seeing it, isn't it? He is a caricature of an ego, and it's a reflection back at us about our own ego. Although it is a one-sided perspective also about Donald Trump, and nobody is all one thing and not the other. Nobody is all ego. We are all light. We are all spirit. And so that, in a way, a different perspective was presented by Abraham Hicks. And this is what Abraham Hicks said, and I'll paraphrase because I don't have any notes on it, but the idea was, well, you know, stop all your focusing on the negative aspects of this character, because what you focus on is going to expand. So if you want to sit and judge, go ahead, but it's not going to have a good result in your reality if you do that. And Abraham said, this individual is actually a positive example of what it happens when you believe in yourself so completely and you have such an unwavering focus on your goals and no room for personal invalidation whatsoever of what is possible, of what you can achieve. When you have a vision, a big vision, and you have a belief in the vision and you believe that it's possible and you believe in yourself and you desire this vision so much and you're open to receive it and you recognize the opportunities when they come. And so I would argue that both of those perspectives are valid and that Donald Trump is representing both of those perspectives.
The second is a wonderful way to look at it, though, you know, like the Abraham Hicks one. I think that I never thought of that. That's a wonderful way to look at it because he is the perfect example of creating his own reality.
Mm-hmm.
He really is. I mean, he said from the beginning that that's it. I'm done. I'm going to get in there and I'm going to change this country. And so, and I have to do it from the inside, from the Oval Office. And look where he is. He's in the Oval Office. It's amazing.
Yeah, and you know, thinking of this as a teaching for everybody out there, because most Americans and people that I know reacted as, I'm having a nightmare, and here's this egomaniac in my nightmare, and judge. And of course, they're focusing then on that. They're focusing on what they don't like, and they're failing to see that it is a reflection of themselves right back at them. And so, do you want to focus on the negative, or do you want to focus on the positive? Which wolf do you want to feed? Do you want to feed the ego wolf, or do you want to feed the positive self-belief wolf?
When you think about it, one of his things that he's been saying is that he wants to bring back the American dream. And part of that American dream, all little boys, a lot of little girls, I guess, want to be the president of the United States. And basically, he's shown how the American dream can come true if you want it bad enough, and you're willing to go after it and chase that dream. Make it part of your reality. I'm sure every morning he woke up and he went, I'm going to be president of the United States. I'm going to be president of the United States. I'm going to be president. I'm sure he
believed it without a shadow of a doubt.
There was no doubt in his mind. No doubt.
Yeah, exactly. So this lady that's talking about Donald Trump as a symbol of the ego, there's been some great examples of an ego in operation. The only thing an ego attacks is another ego, and all those debates with Hillary Clinton, two egos going at each other for sure, right? But then she widens the perspective a little bit more and talks about the global dream, like you just said, the American dream or the global dream, the mass consciousness creation of reality. Because on a let's call it a microscopic level, we create our own personal reality in our own personal private universes, which is founded on our beliefs and the messages we tell ourselves. And then en masse, humanity or countries or groups of people, there's a mass consciousness that creates a mass reality that we all agree to as well. And so the lady writing in Huffington Post is she's talking about the global nightmare and the collective dream. And what is it telling us? It's telling us that we need to heal as a nation and even as a world. And so she says, in the world's dream, is Donald Trump is helping us see how we as Americans must appear to others, believing that we are better than they are, and that our wealth and influence and military force makes us great. And she says, no wonder that such bravado would evoke an attack from others who are caught up in the ego's inverted world of hatred, division, and violence. And of course, that is the way a lot of the world views America. That's for sure. I mean, I come from England, and I know most British people have that concept of it. And let me just...
Yeah, but and this is not a political discussion anyway. It's about ego. When you look at Donald Trump, I think what he's done, what he's doing, is trying to bring the American ego, or the Americans' ego en masse back. Rein it back a little bit, as opposed to we're world dominators. I think he's saying, well, let's clean our own house, which I think is a very important thing too. Let's clean our own windows so we can see the world for what it is, as opposed to looking through the tinted windows that we have at this point in time.
Yeah, the rose-colored egocentric glasses that we have about ourselves.
Yeah. And vice versa. Like the world looking at, the worldly ego looking at the Americans as well. I mean, if the Americans change their ego, then that doesn't reflect the world's concept of what they're doing as well.
Yeah. So if that collective ego shifts, the collectively the energy of those looking at that also shifts.
Yeah, maybe one day we can have a John Lennon world, you know, like.
Well, and one thing that this is doing, it really is making people look at themselves. It really is raising consciousness. It's making people become more awake and more aware and say, look at our world and look at the choices we are making, and are they good choices? And and look at what can happen in our world. And so it doesn't matter whether you judge the person or you don't judge the person. It is an event in our mass psyche which is triggering expansion and growth for the masses.
Well, the first step to healing is recognition. You have to recognize there's something wrong. You have to look at it and say, hey, I'm not feeling well, or my situation's not the best that it could be. And once you recognize it, then you can do something. But if there's no recognition, if you're going to go along with the blinders on for your whole life and constantly run into walls and wondering why, I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah, and one of the biggest things that's up for everyone to look at is judgment, because you have what's reported as being all sorts of bigotry from this, figure Donald Trump. Bigotry, sexism, racism, you name it. But that's just he's just one man, and he's reflecting back at a nation what exists within that nation. And so, hey, it's like, hey, America, this is what you are. This is what a lot of you are harboring within your psyche. And then everyone on the opposite watching this is judging it right back in from their own righteous perspective. And so it's judgment. And so it's an opportunity to look and say, look at all this judgment. And how can we transcend the judgment? Because judgment is not a vibrational frequency that allows you to open to love, that allows you to open to the expansion of consciousness. Judgment is very narrow, limited, restrictive, and keeps you stuck in resistance against something.
Yeah, your focus is myopic when it comes to that. Once you start to judge, that's it. I mean, when you look at somebody and you call them prejudiced in any way, shape, or form, then all you do is look at that one particular aspect of that human being, and it's pinpointed, and it's very difficult to see any good or any wonderfulness in that person, where everybody does have it,
I also think it is interesting to look at his wife as a symbol, the first lady, and what's her name? Is it Ivanka? No, that's his daughter, isn't it? I can't even remember the wife's name, but that is also, I think, she's very symbolic of America. Look at yourself, because here she is. She was kind of the equivalent, if not the equivalent of a Playboy model.
Yeah, trophy wife.
And before that, a nude model, and I don't know if there's links to...
I was a nude model.
Were you?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Yes, I was. When I was 3 years old, my mother took lots of pictures of me in the tub.
Yeah, she was a bit older than 3. But when you think about, there is that stereotypical image of America with its pageantry and the Playboy mansion and beauty contests and beach doll Barbies and Melania. Thank you, Johnny K.
Thank you.
Melania is the name of his wife.
It's Tutor Johnny K, who'll be on a little later.
Yeah, and so she's also helping us take a look at our society and our judgment. Really, both of them are.
So Donald and Melania, we have good things to say about you. Don't sue us.
Yes, yeah, we have a balanced perspective. And nobody is all good or all bad. There's light and darkness in each of us. It's part of being here in the physical world. And those people that end up on the world stage, they're doing us all a service. all of them are doing us all a service, because we watch them, we watch their lives, we watch what they get up to, and they reflect back at us what's within all of us, what's within us en masse, and they give us the opportunity to have an outside perspective, a slightly distant perspective on ourselves and on humanity in general.
Yeah, we live in a fun house with, the mirrored fun houses. No matter what way you turn, there's a mirror there, and it's reflecting some sort of image.
Exactly. And I would say to anyone, anytime you find yourself in judgment, you know what? What's the mirror reflecting back at you?
Yeah, like the Bible says, judge not lest ye be judged by the same meat.
But the other thing about this, in everyone sort of waking up and becoming more aware about what's going on in the world, is in order to make a change, the very first thing you have to do is actually accept what is. And so in order to create the change that you're looking for, you need to move beyond judgment into acceptance, because while you're judging, the energy's stuck to the thing that you're judging. But if you accept, you don't have to like it, you don't have to agree with it, but you have to accept this is what is.
You can want to change it as well.
Yeah.
It's not like you're saying, I'm accepting it, so I'll just... There's a difference between surrender and giving up.
Right, yeah, they're not the same. Anyway, we've reached that time in the show where we go to a break. Everyone, welcome back to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Leslie. Corey, what's the first one?
Yeah, and just a little point on that. I was thinking before the show, if you haven't heard if you sent your email and you haven't heard it yet, stay tuned on future shows, because that's you may hear it then, because we do have a lot of questions. So I have a question from Mindy. And Mindy would like to know, how do I cut the cords with my oldest son? I believe we have had past lives together, and this may be karmic.
Oh, that's a good question, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Way to go, Mindy.
Yeah, all right, Mindy, I'll take a look at that for you. So I'm just going to tune in to you and your energy and your relationship with your son. Okay, let me see. Well, I will validate that there is still a strong energetic connection between the two of you. And I'm seeing that it's from the third chakra down. Mainly the third chakra, but it looks like also the second and first chakras. And for listeners who don't know what a chakra is, it's basically an energy, it's part of your energy system. And it relates to different aspects of your life. So the third one relates to energy distribution, the second one to emotions, and the first one to survival. And so I'm seeing, and they're the ones that relate more to physical reality. And so I'm seeing that somehow you're clinging together on a physical reality level, on an emotional level, on a mental level, on a survival level, and actually I think a lot of it has to do with survival. It's sort of like I don't know whether he feels he can't survive without you, but so I'm just going to give you a hand. Seeing what happens if I start to separate the energy out. Because it really does look like you are so connected. I can see why you asked this question. It looks like you're sharing each other's reality. You've probably heard me talk about this on the show before. Whenever you've got someone else's energy in your space, you're actually experiencing their reality as well as your own reality. So both of you are... you've got a sort of a co-reality going on at the moment. And let me just see. I'll just take another perspective before I look at why you can't let go. And I will look and see if there's a past life that comes up. Let me just look at that. Yeah, so I'm seeing that there is. And I also just want to pause and take a look at you and what you're learning about this from this relationship with your son. And it looks like one of the things that you're learning about is this kind of how to have your affinity with God or source energy. And you know, sometimes what people do in their relationships is they put that other person in place of God. You know, whether it's a parent or a partner or a child. You know, sometimes people will put the authority figure, the parent, in place of God. Sometimes people will put the child, because when the child is born, it's like, oh, this is like God. It's just such a high vibration being. And some people will do it with their partner. And I'm seeing that that's one of the things that you're working on at the moment is nobody takes the place of God. Nobody takes the place of source energy. And so you're really, really bringing into present time to release all ways in which you have done that in the present time reality and in some past lives as well. And I'm seeing that he's working on how to take responsibility for himself. Because I'm seeing that it's kind of nice if somebody wants to put you a little bit on a pedestal or do everything for you. Well, hey, kick back, let them do it. That's an easy life, right? And so it looks like he's working on how to take responsibility for himself. So and how to. And what that and part of it for him is actually believing he can, and believing he can do it on his own. It looks like that's where his issue is. And I'll quickly just look at the past life that I was seeing light up. There might be a few of them, but there's one area in your past life timeline that's lighting up, and I think it might be about 3 lives really close together. But let's just see. I'll look at one of them. I'll just ask for the most significant one to come up. So it looks like a past life in an ancient civilization, like ancient Greece or ancient Manoa, that kind of area. And I'm just gonna see, I'm seeing symbols of ancient Greek gods and murals and a wealthy home. And I was seeing somebody playing a harp or a lyre, I guess, as it was then. And so let me just see. Revelry. A party. It's a party going on, and everyone's a bit inebriated. And because of the inebriation, it's sort of harder for me to see reality from fantasy in this vignette that I'm looking at. But let's just see. I want to see who you are, and I want to see who he is. Well, what's coming up is that in this past life you were lovers. Which might be a bit icky for a mother to think of with her son, but of course, you are spirit, and so the relationships with other souls shifts from lifetime to lifetime, but I'm seeing it was an obsessive relationship. You were sort of lovers obsessed with each other, and obsessed with pleasure. Sort of like a bacchanalian existence, party and pleasure, and I'm seeing it was just that kind of obsessive love where people can't live without each other, that they are, and I'm seeing that in that life your energies were so intertwined, and it was let me see what else I can say about it and how. And so that's definitely a karmic thing, and also definitely, it's all about the pleasures of the flesh, the physical reality, the emotional, the sexual, the things that you can get in the world. And so I'm seeing that it's at that level in the current reality that you're trying to extract your energy from each other. Let me see if I'll take a glimpse in the other 2 past lives that I was seeing either side of that. There's a slightly more recent one where I'm seeing that you were his child, and it was a lifetime in a relatively isolated, looks like sort of almost like Amazonian rainforest isolated tribe with not many other people, and it looks like you were you and he was a she were it looks like there was an extended part of the life where it was just the 2 of you, nobody else, just the 2 of you. So again, it was such a really strong relationship because there was nobody else. And then the third one, very quickly, let's see what comes up for that. Well, I'm just seeing slaves, captured slaves, and well, it looks like your son was the person who kept the slaves, and you were one of the slaves, and so again, there's this like being bound to each other through enslavement. All right, so how can we help you with this? Because you're right, it is quite a strong karmic bind here. So one thing you might want to do is you can visualize the chords that connect you. Even if you feel like you can't see them intuitively, you can imagine or visualize that they are there. And you can get yourself a big, sharp, metaphysical knife and visualize yourself slicing through the chords. You can ground and release the foreign energy and release the past-time energy that is keeping this particular relationship the way that it is. Let's see what else I can tell you that you can do to let it go. Or else stop taking it responsibility for him in any way, shape, or form. And just let him go. Stop taking responsibility. All right, so we spent a bit of time on that one, Mindy. So I think hopefully that's helped you. If you need any more help, you can contact me and set up a time for a proper session. So we'll go for one more question before the break, Corey.
Sure. One of the other things actually you're saying is cutting the cords. I mean, you can also call on archetypes such as, like Archangel Michael and those fellows to come in and cut the cords with his wonderful sword.
Yeah, you can ask for assistance from...
because that works really well as well.
Yeah.
Okay, this is a question by Kira. No, sorry. We did that one already. I apologize. Okay, question from Lois. Should I stay with my current job? It pays well, and although I'm quite aware life shouldn't be about money, I don't know what else I would do. Currently, I'm a caregiver.
Okay. Currently, she's a caregiver. What else could she do? All right, let's take a look. Yeah, I think I know. I think I've helped this lady privately, actually, but I'll take a look. There's one of the things that I'm seeing is that the job as the caregiver is exhausting you, and it's exhausting you because it's a few different reasons. Sometimes it looks like it's just heavy physical work, but also emotionally draining. And you're dealing with people who are not always in a good way. And so it looks like you're taking on some of the foreign energy from the individuals that you're taking care of. And so all of that together makes it not a very enjoyable job for you. But I am seeing that the reason that you were attracted to it is that you do want to help people. So it's part of your nature to want to be of service and to help people. And well, I'll just say, I know that there are some other things going on in this lady's life, just some personal challenges that she's working her way through, and in terms of what else could she do, has to do with, in going through her personal challenges and in learning from them and in transcending them, now being someone who is able to teach and assist and lead others going through a similar problem. And so I'm seeing it's a different type of caregiving, and the caregiving is more to peers, other women who have gone through the same kind of personal challenge as you. When you have got through the other side of what you're going through, being able to take all the learning from that and the empowered woman that you now are, and help other people. So that's what I'm seeing for Lois. I'm going to go to a break, and you can write to info@drlesliephillips.com. Hello listeners, welcome back to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Leslie. My name's Dr. Leslie Phillips and I'm your host, and we're in the last section of the show. So we have more email questions, don't we?
Yes, we do. This is the section we do pizza, right? No. Okay, so this is a question from Dana, and Dana would like to know, how have my past life experiences affected my current reality?
All righty.
Good way to ask that question.
That is a good way to ask that question. Very good. All right, Dana, let's take a look. A couple of past life readings this evening. So how have my past lives affected my current reality, or how are they affecting my current reality? So let's start and take a look at you in your current reality right now. And I'm going to give you a little bit of a healing looking at your current reality right now, actually, and I'll explain why. So it looks like you are openly searching for answers. Sometimes when you're openly searching for answers, what happens is, because you believe you don't have your answers within you, you reach out to source energy or God or whatever your name is for that. But it's sort of like the closer you get to that, the less easy it is to have clarity and focus. And so I'm going to give you a hand just helping you get some of your own clarity and focus back. And it looks to me like you're experiencing some kind of pain, and that's what's causing you to say, why is this happening in my life? Why am I feeling this way? What's causing this? And I don't get it, and I don't understand. And I'm going to just give you a hand with that pain first. And I feel that not all of that pain is yours. I feel that you're actually dealing with someone else's pain that you're believing is yours because it's in your space. So that's the first thing. And it looks like what your main spiritual growth cycle is about is about, it's self-discovery, in terms of and seeking out the truth about yourself, that you are the powerful creator of your own life, and that you're not just being a leaf being blown around on the winds of fate. So I'm seeing that the thing that is affecting you is actually more of a present time reality thing. So I would just look to your relationships in your current life and just look at who is around you that's in a lot of pain, a lot of emotional pain or unwell. And then make energetic separations from that person, because I'm seeing you're experiencing them, and that's really the main thing that's going on. And I've given you a bit of a healing, and I'm just going to give you a little bit more of a healing, and that really is the answer. So unfortunately, I'm not going to do a past life reading for you this evening, because I'm seeing that that's not the information you need right now, that would just diffuse the focus on getting your space back. You just need to get your space back, and it looks like when you do that, you'll actually feel better and you'll have less questions and you'll feel more confident. So I am going to take a call right now, and we'll see what our caller has to say to us. So bear with me while the call comes through. Hello, caller. Who am I talking to?
You're talking to Cindy again.
Cindy again. Hello.
How are you?
All right. What's the latest?
Oh, okay. Well, I understand your topic was ego, and I just want to quickly say that I've been thinking about the ego today, this very day, because I was walking home and noticing different energies and how when people are in their ego and not, and how the energy is different. But I won't go there right now. So so I've been doing a lot of exciting transformations and healing practices, which I think I might have mentioned, the muscle testing and all various things. And so I'm feeling some significant shifts going on in the first and second chakras area. So I did have another possible question, but I think I'll stick with this one for now, even though it's tempting to change subjects. But
so is the question just to... Oh, go on.
If you could please, just see if you can see anything that needs to shift or anything that just is happening, because it might be kind of interesting, because I've been doing so much. It might be quite different.
Okay, so let's take a look at you. Yeah. Well, every time I look at you, you look different. And so there's one thing for sure, and that is you're changing quite rapidly.
Thank you.
You really are.
Thank you.
Yes, yes. So what you're doing is having an impact. But I remember last time you called, your energy was looking quite bright, as I remember. And so it looks like I'm looking at you right now, where you've lit up a new layer to be released.
Okay.
And so I'll just start with that, and then I'll just take a look at what that has to do with. Well, I'll just reel out some of the images that I'm seeing. So the images that I'm seeing have to do with you, I guess, gathering or integrating new information. So the pictures of you sort of studying. There was a picture of you, a book in your crown chakra, and there was a picture of you just sitting on a comfortable chair, reading a book. And so let me just take a look at that, what those book symbols have to do with. It feels like learning and integration. Learning and integration. And it looks like, you hit on this new healing methodology. And it was like wham, bang, wow. This is fantastic. This is amazing. And it just looks like that now. It's in the changes that you made are being integrated in time and space. And the changes that you've kept making, there's sort of like an integration that has to happen in the body. And so the energy feels slower, but it feels more gentle, and it feels like it needs to be that way, or it's that way on purpose. And so I'm going to look at the first and second chakra areas. You know, one of the things that I am also picking up is, so I have to explain this to the listeners. There's a part of the female energy system that's different to the male energy system, and it's the counterpart that relates to the female reproductive system, because a female body has the power that needs extra energy and power to be able to help another being come into the world. So it's called female creative energy, sort of like a special energy that only female bodies have. And it feels to me like you are running your female creative energy, and you are using it in two ways. One, as a soothing kind of energy to help your body feel safe and nurtured, but also to move out foreign energy from your creative energy. So it looks like there's something coming up to do with your own mother and your relationship with your own mother, and how either nurtured or not nurtured you felt by your own mother. And so it looks like you're clearing out some of your own mother's energy and some of the past time stuff that went on between you and your own mother, which I consciously know nothing about. But it looks like there's a couple of areas, and they're showing up as just small dark spots of energy around that lower abdominal area where the reproductive system is. And it looks like a kind of an injury or something painful from back in the past, and
like an emotional injury, or
well, let me to the degree that you don't mind talking on the radio about it. Okay. So let's just delve into your relationship with your mum and what it was like.
Oh, okay. It's kind of multifaceted. It's hard to explain it really, but Mom's very loving person. So she's very loving, but she also was going through various things in her life.
That's what I was going to say. What was her relationship like with her partner or her husband? Because it looks like.
Was that what she meant? Oh,
well, that's not. I didn't say that, but I'm kind of picking up almost like you taking on something that she was going through.
Yeah. Well, she was going through something before I was born with a previous person, and then. And then, yeah, I mean, there's always challenges in relationships, but it was kind of between them, so I don't really know exactly what the dynamic was between them, but there was some times where, yes, they had challenges there.
Yeah, so then, and of course, you were in that woman's body for 9 months, and so whatever pain that she was carrying in there and other vibrations, you were immersed in that. And so whether it was something that happened before she met your dad, or anything like that, it's like if it's in there, it's in there. And so I'm seeing it just looks like that's where your healing journey is taking you right now. You're just going through layers and layers and layers, and this is the next layer. It's your relationship with your mum, who you learned how to be female from, and who you learned what it means to be female and in a female body. And you're dealing with, that's what you're dealing with, your femininity, your reproductive system, and that whole aspect. And it just looks like it's a releasing. I don't even know that you necessarily have to do anything or really look into it, but just release. And it looks like it's a very gentle, relaxing releasing as well. And so just allowing the release and the letting go.
Yeah. So nice. Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm going to actually have to go because we have to wrap the show up in time for Johnny K.
Okay. Okay.
All right.
Thanks.
So, bye.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Yeah, and Johnny K, Tutor Johnny K is going to be here with Nurse Katie, and the vinyl spinner lives on. And there's some people out there that have never heard a vinyl record actually play, so tune in and see what that's all about.
That's right. And
he's here for a long time.
Yeah. And
hours.
And of course, listeners, tune in next week at 7 o'clock on 101.7 FM or civl.ca live streaming, and you can listen to us live. And that's for all you podcast listeners out there as well. So bye for now, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you for joining us. You've been listening to another Unlocking Your Truth podcast by Dr. Leslie Phillips. For more information, go to our website at drlesleyphillips.com. That's drlesleyphillips.com, where you can ask questions or send her an email, and there's many free gifts on there for you as well. Come back again.